Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Sharp, St. Andrews class of '68, and welcome to the Rocks and Razorbacks podcast. Here, we feature conversations with remarkable alumni, teachers, and administrators from both Middleton and St. Andrews high schools. This is a great way to share meaningful stories and keep our memories alive of growing up in West Ashley. Now for today's show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Carolina Perspective. I'm Sheree Bernardi. My guest this morning is Tim Fennell. He is working on a documentary that could affect you if you lived in the Low Country for a while now, especially if you attended West Ashley high schools. See, some interest has been piqued already. Tim, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Sheree. Happy to be here.
You are working on something now that I think will get a lot of attention.
Yeah, I think the best documentaries are something that are dear to your heart and personal, and the people that are producing them and directing them, if they have a connection, then hopefully that will show. And so I discovered about a year and a half ago that they're actually going to bulldoze down my old high school, Middleton High, West Ashley High School from 1970 to 2000. And I'm a graduate of the class of 79. When I found out that they were going to bulldoze the building down, even though it hasn't existed since the year 2000, it just seemed like really emotional news, and I knew people that would be really emotional about it.
Yeah.
And so thinking that, for me, things kind of fall together. I think visually, I was like, wow, I can imagine getting that on camera and imagining people reacting to it. And a short, powerful moment turned into a hopefully very powerful 1-hour documentary. And I had that idea to go to the emotional side, the psychological side of it.
Right.
And talking to a lot of people, a lot of great reactions, and you should pursue that. And so I went up to ETV up in Columbia. I've made a couple of films with them, and luckily they were perceived well. They went over well, and they liked this idea a lot. They do like the idea of also, though, making it more of a statewide theme, not just a West Ashley theme. And so the goal now is to create a 57 minutes documentary for ETV, and it will be about merging in schools that are also consolidated, which is like a government mandate thing.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, statewide, and mentioned examples, but focus on Middleton and St. Andrews. So St. Andrews also went away in the year 2000 because Middleton went away in 2000. They merged together to form West Ashley High. Gosh. And so I actually went to elementary school and middle school with all the folks that went to St. Andrews. And just because of where my house was, they plucked me out and put me in Middleton along with just a couple of other people, wonderful people. And so looking back, you wouldn't have it any other way. But back then, it was a big deal.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. So, Rocks and Razorbacks.
You got St. Andrews Rocks. That's their nickname. And Middleton Razorbacks. Rocks came from a Post and Courier article describing the football team's defense.
They're tough.
And then Middleton, when they were organized and created in 1970, one of the administrators in charge was an Arkansas graduate and said, we're going to be the Razorbacks. And so it's an interesting story.
Yeah, so that's the name of the documentary, and you're just kind of going back, talking to people who went to the schools, talking to people who worked in the schools, maybe teachers, and to get an idea of, well, how do you feel now that your schools are gone?
Yeah. all that, and so that's the fun part, and we really just started. So I asked Neil Kynard, he's the Middleton class of 86. And so we've worked together for long times in the television, films, documentaries together. And he immediately jumped on board. And so we all know so many people, but we also know the administrators, the ones that are still around, and teachers, and then alumni. What's really kind of cool about the two schools, St. Andrews and Middleton, are the alumni went on to amazing things.
Yeah, I was going to ask notables.
Darius Rucker, of course, for Middleton is probably the headliner. But you got Middleton, you got St. Andrews with like Katrina McLean, an Olympic gold medalist. You've got Arthur Ravenel, who, of course, his name's on the bridge from downtown to Mount Pleasant. He famously apparently rode a horse in the halls of St. Andrews. And so I'm trying to learn more about this. Of course, his son Thomas went to St. Andrews as well.
Yeah.
Southern Charm fame and what have you. But we also a lot of serious people, a lot of scientists, really acclaimed like attorneys. A name you'll hear a lot, like Akeem Anastapulo, actually is a Middleton graduate. I played on the tennis team with him. He's a little older than me. Just a little.
Just a little.
And boy, he was better at tennis. That's for sure. And so there's just a lot of amazing alumni and administrators. And I started putting my toe in the water for all these Facebook groups for both schools to say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. What do you think? And oh my gosh, boom, it just came back to me so fast and so quickly and so emotionally. Like, oh yes, oh gosh, please. And you got to be sure to mention this. Got to be sure to mention that. It's a special place. It's a special place.
But while you're talking about this, I think, for the people, I mean, for me and for you as well, I don't like to put you quite in that group. But high school was a few years ago.
Yeah, yes.
But yeah, you're finding like a real emotional trigger there for people who think back on those years when they were in high school.
Oh, very much, very much. And so for me, I mean, I met my best friends there. College, great. USC Broadcasting, great. Gamecocks, great. Moved to North Carolina for about close to 10 years, working TV, working in independent world. But then I ended up going back to the College of Charleston around 1990 to work. And then you just realize that no matter what you do in life, you keep going back to those closest friends from high school.
And that's where you met them.
Yeah. And I didn't really go to a lot of the reunions. I went to a couple. Mm-hmm. Didn't think much of it. But as you get older, and I'm 64 in August.
Oh, my gosh.
Big Beatles fan. It's big year for a Beatles fan. And so that you just start realizing, and those folks are still in your life. Absolutely still in your life.
Yeah. Yep. It's just, it's funny that, I mean, every once in a while, a handful of times I've thumbed through the yearbook and my school's yearbook in Virginia. And I just think, oh, this person thought they were such a big deal back then. And this, because that was your high school years are kind of like you're finding your way or your place, or you're trying to jump the line, or you try, it's a real time of growth and self-discovery. And what am I doing now from here on out?
Right. For me, just say you can't go back and fix things, but maybe in a way, I'm sort of doing this in a way. You don't really appreciate things sometimes till they're gone. And I think you're a teenager. Some people do automatically, and that's wonderful. And I'm finding that those folks are still into it so much. And that's wonderful for the project, obviously. Uh-huh. And but looking at the yearbooks from both schools, people loaning me their yearbooks to like scan. What I do is I call it scanning slices of life, really interesting moments in time from yearbooks, and then post them on our Facebook group, which is called Rocks and Razorbacks.
Yeah. The
documentary and the podcast. And so seeing those people, and you just look at the names, go, oh wait a minute, that's the same person that's running this Facebook group, or the same person that's reaching out to me, because they're reaching out to me through direct messaging. They're reaching out through my email, which is rocks.and.razorbacks@gmail. And so it's incredible to see the emotion coming back. And they're all either wanting to be interviewed or making suggestions on who to interview. And I've interviewed some folks that were like helped split the schools, and folks that help put the schools together, and then everybody in between.
Oh, good guys and bad guys, I see.
Yeah, and a good documentary has a point of view, and I think it is going to be a celebration, obviously, of these schools.
Sure.
Schools that are missed. I mean, it's a real, like I told Charleston County school system people, wonderful people, so helpful. It's like, this is really a celebration. We have 2 public schools that people actually miss so much that they're in tears. They can't stop thinking about it, talking about it, and having this outlet where we get to share it with the state is like something like they're totally into it and supportive. But then again, it's got to cover not just the good times. It will cover like that time period, and the integration was there. There were some rough patches, and get some honest stories from some folks who lived in those times.
Absolutely.
And so I'm looking forward to all that, and it's coming.
If you're just joining us, my guest is Tim Fennell. He is working on a documentary on West Ashley High Schools. Of course, the old schools are not with us anymore. Tim is working to kind of look back, recapture the feeling, talk to people who went to those schools, who had a hand in what happened in those schools, kind of a look back. If you're nostalgic at all and you went to those schools, or maybe you had a girlfriend or boyfriend who went to one of those schools, this you want to stay around for our discussion, because you are making a documentary about this, Tim. And when might we expect to see it? Or is the time limit kind of fluid?
No, it's a good question. It's actually, a certain time limit, because the summer of 2027, so 2 years from now, is when they're going to bulldoze Old Middleton's building down.
Oh, gosh.
So the county's just started building a new building behind it on what was our soccer field and track. And so once that's done and tested out, they're going to, of course, empty out the old building, and they're going to bulldoze. They're going to knock it down. And so I knew right away visually, wow, that's going to be really something to see, because it's more than just the brick and mortar, right? It's like represents your youth. And
of course.
It's a real metaphor. So bulldozing it down is a real metaphor for
mortality.
Exactly. And so the alumni of these schools are no longer going to have a place to look at and say, well, okay, it doesn't exist anymore, but at least I used to go there. So we can't say that.
I don't know, when I've gone to Virginia, I remember when my son was little, I'd say, you want to see my high school? Do you want to see where I went to school? Because he was, school age. And I showed him my elementary, my junior, we called him junior high back then, and high school, and he was like, "Wow, you went to these." It's kind of it's a bookmark in your life. It's like, let me show you this. Let me show you.
Very, very, means a lot to a lot of people, and so for a while I called the documentary "Bulldozing Our Youth." And I thought that's a little harsh. That's a little harsh. So,
yikes!
But I like Rocks and Razorbacks is such a interesting name. It always has been. I have two brothers that went to St. Andrews, so they were Rocks. I was totally fine to grow up and be a Rock, and then they actually split and formed Middleton in 1970. And so then the other half of my family, my brothers Tom and Lorraine, went to Middleton, and so I was in line for Middleton, just because of the way they drew the lines, and
sure.
that's all fine and dandy.
How old are these schools? How old were these schools to begin with?
So St. Andrews, as we know it, was built around World War II in the 40s.
Cool.
Okay, and it had this.
I love old buildings like that.
It has this classic columned front that is very much like something out of, what Back to the Future, Michael J. Fox. Right?
Yeah.
So very much that kind of thing.
The clock tower.
And people love it. It has a senior lawn. It has senior steps. Great stories about, how the seniors would defend it. Mm-hmm. And then it split in 1970 in Middleton. So Middleton actually was St. Andrews Junior High. Some folks actually went to junior high thinking they're going to St. Andrews High.
Yeah.
And then that just bad timing, I suppose, or good timing, depending on how you look at it, right? They ended up staying in that building, and it became Middleton High School. And so we interviewed the old baseball coach, my coach for 1 year, Rusty Davis, Coach Davis, and just extremely, great memories, loves the people from that school, but did say, hey, that's a small school. It was built to be a junior high, and if you notice, the halls are small, the water fountains are low, and I was like, I never thought of that. But then again, thinking about it, I'm going, well, I was pretty small too.
Oh, you were a kid.
Yeah, it was just right. So, unfortunately, 1978, St. Andrews had two fires. The second fire took out the front, and so they had
fire at the school.
Yeah, and so
that's dramatic, right there.
Right. But the students voted to not go anywhere. They just brought in trailers, and they kept going to school, and they rebuilt it. Mm-hmm. But if you go by there now, it's not a replica of what it was in the 40s or 50s.
It never would be.
Yeah, so they kind of built it in the late 70s and early 80s, and so it looks kind of, not to say anything derogatory. It's just a little more generic in that beautiful column building. And everybody knows that. And
architecture has changed over the years, a huge amount.
But, there's an interesting story that when they combined the schools and built West Ashley High, they decided to honor the early 50s St. Andrews look. And so West Ashley High is columned in the front. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like a tip to the hat to the old St. Andrews.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is like the architect has a Middleton architect. So it's like combination there of a nod to the past. Mm-hmm. And get to know people. Principal Brandt, so many people that's so helpful to me. Excited about the project. I've been inside there, and you see access to they have all the old trophies for both schools.
Yeah.
It could be done better, and I'm sure they'd probably agree as well. They're in different cases and different around school, and there's no explanation of what they are and what have you. And so the question the documentary will raise is, what can we do to keep our memories alive?
Of course.
And so we hopefully will get, the documentary's aim is not to make a museum, but brings up the question. I know that's beyond me. That's every time I bring that up, some people, like one of my best friends, Mike Wiggins, he's a financial planner. And he's like, well, you're talking millions of dollars. I said, I know I make films and documentaries. I don't make museums. But there is actually a museum in Columbia for a school that went away. So there's Olympia High School. It's part of the Olympia Mill Village area near the stadium up there. And so I discovered that. It's actually my wife's family went there. My wife didn't, but the family did. And so discovered it. They have a wonderful website, olympiamillvillage.org, I believe. And so they raised money and built a museum and actually a couple of documentaries for the contents inside the museum. That's one way to keep your memories alive. So I'm actually taking the camera up there this weekend and seeing the family again, and we're going to capture some interviews.
Yeah. Were both schools about the 1940s or?
No, Middleton. So Middleton was in 1970. So it's like St. Andrews just
after the 70s, and they ripped it down. Wow.
Not too far. As my brother Eddie went there, he's a class of '68. He became a reporter for Post and Courier. Uh-huh. And so he actually did a story on it. And so Eddie's actually on my third podcast. So the first podcast is Neil Golden, known as Jimmy Golden Jr., longtime principal for St. Andrews, like that. And then the second was Rusty Davis, the baseball coach, beloved baseball coach. And then the third is my brother Eddie. He has all these crazy, really funny stories about the 60s in general.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know this, but I called my brother Jerry, who also went to St. Andrews, to get the counterpoint about all these stories. His stories could not be true, but Jerry actually agreed with him that they were all true.
Really?
Yeah. So by the way, you can catch the podcast on YouTube. We have the Rocks and Razorbacks YouTube channel, and also it's on Spotify. So my buddy Neil Kynard got us on Spotify, and so we'll slowly get that going. Trying to do things that are a little bit not necessarily my thing, raise money here and there, find sponsors for the podcast, find what's called underwriters for the documentary.
I know, all the nuts and bolts that make these things become a reality.
Right. So hopefully folks, ETV's gave me a letter of support, which is great. Of course, it's got to be good. But anybody that's involved in it knows that that's the goal, and it'll be there. I haven't done anything. I haven't never left anything on the table.
We're talking to Tim Fennell. He's doing a documentary on the old Middleton and West Ashley high schools, the ones that are no more.
Middleton and St. Andrews. Middleton St. Andrews forming West Ashley.
Yes.
I know, I got 3 schools now.
I didn't go here. Give me a break, Tim.
Yeah. Yesterday I was actually getting my business license. If money comes in, then I have to be prepared.
Right.
And so the lady behind the desk over downtown was like, oh, this is interesting, name. So can you tell me about it? And I did. And she immediately just got so excited and a little upset about how when she was in high school, she went to school downtown at Burke. It turns out it was like C.A. Brown and like Bonds Wilson and C.A. Brown and Charleston High and Burke all formed what's a much larger Burke. So folks from 3 schools had to combine and come together. And that was right during her era. And so she talked about that. And so the pride of going from one school to the other, suddenly you're forced to go to one. And so she got very emotional about that, and I thought, wow, that's crazy.
You're onto a good thing here.
If I bring it up anywhere, somebody has a story, and so that's just the great thing about it. I looked into Fort Johnson on James Island went away, and so I was told about that. I mean, I kind of remember that when I was younger, but suddenly I'm getting more and more people giving me specifics.
Yeah.
And so I had actually joined a Fort Johnson Facebook group and said, "This is what I'm doing for Middleton and St. Andrews. What do you think? Do you have similar experiences?" And boom, again, people just jumping in and going,
"This may be a series for you." This may turn into a series. I would be interested to hear, if you've talked to principals or school officials from back in the day. And when they look at what's happening today in the schools, are they thinking like, "Ooh, glad I'm not a principal today," or "glad I don't have to tangle with what today's principals have to tangle with"? I mean, we always think things were simpler back then. I'm wondering if that goes back to.
Right. I think that's a big part of it. One thing that I really enjoy is, thinking back in my days and how much simpler it was. But in the 50s, that was before my time, your time. But I started doing some research, and you come across like these YouTube videos from the 50s. These are actually films made for teenagers, and it's like, how to ask out a girl for a date.
I know.
It's like,
really?
Wow,
I know. I have seen some of those. I'm thinking, like, I never saw those kinds of things, but that they actually produced those kinds of things, or how to make dinner for your family, how to please your husband with a good dessert. And I'm like,
how to look good for your husband when he comes home.
How to look good, yes.
Right.
The pressure.
Yeah. So you can't say the good old days. You got to say the old days.
No, yeah. Well,
there you go.
Yeah, but I mean, educate. There's so much attention now in education, and I'm sure the teachers and school people from administrators from back in the 50s couldn't imagine a teacher's making $60,000 a year. Really?
So we interviewed Bob Olson. He's been with the system for 52 years now, and he still is there. And he enjoys what he does, loves what he does, knows everything about this topic. And we talked to him before. He's going to be like podcast number 4. And so he's talking about how when he was hired as a wrestling coach, football assistant coach at Middleton, and then expected to teach a class, and then being then eventually vice principal. And he's talking about, you realize that you're making $8,000 a year back in the 70s. $8,000 a year. That's why there's so, looking at it, it's like so few men as teachers.
Yeah, there was one in my elementary school, one.
Yeah.
And then didn't see another one till maybe 9th grade or high school.
Right.
One.
So you got to climb the ranks. It's $8,000.
Like,
yeah. How about that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
My first job, I got 9, so I shouldn't. But it was one more than 8.
And he came down from up north for the job. So, but so many great stories. And if you, especially our West Ashley resident, you'll really love the stories. And then if you're not, hopefully you'll feel akin to it in a way that when you were younger, and know what your teachers were going through.
Yes. Being where I am now, you report on education things and you hear about, what happened at the school board last night and all of this. And I wish I could think back. I was not cognizant of that, and I didn't care. I was into theater, and I had to take a test and a pop quiz and all that. I was a kid. I was a high school or, student. And I would just love to be able, I guess you can do it if going through old newspaper articles, but what was the school? What did they argue about back then? What were the nuts and bolts that kept this, public education rolling in the city that I grew up in? You just wonder that, but you're talking to people who've lived it.
And they loved it, and they've always cherished the moment and cherished the memories now. And so for me, I mean, all it comes to schools is like wanted to make the baseball team, wanted to make the tennis team, and that's all just seemed to worry about. Got the drama club, the newspaper club, and meetings after school, and now
driver's licenses.
Yeah, yeah. Now going through the yearbooks, and you see what's going on in every aspect of life on campus was pretty fun and pretty exciting. And I get a kick out of seeing, for example, high school students would drive school buses.
I've heard that. That, you know, and they would just, high school, I mean, we have become quite litigious as a society. I don't think you're going to find high school kids driving a school bus these days. But isn't it amazing?
It is amazing. And the pictures, like, okay, we're going to take a picture for the yearbook, and they're standing on top of a school bus. Standing on top of a school bus for the picture.
Unbelievable.
There's a picture of, like, I think it's like the flag girls, the pep girls, on top of a red and white that was a sponsor for the yearbook. Yeah. And they're on top of the roof, on the edge for the picture, and I'm just amazed by that.
Oh, aren't you though? Yeah. Those things, I love to see pictures like that, and just because it was a lot simpler. I heard someone talk about, we were part of the rifle club or something, and we had, you know, a gun rack on our pickup truck. It's like, you're not going to find that today. And if someone does find it, you're going to the office. You're expelled. You're out of here. Things have changed so much. And I think they were simpler times.
Right.
And we weren't, right. We just had different thoughts of how things should be, how things will go.
If you search out the podcast, you'll hear everything from teachers, administrators, but like the third one is my brother Eddie, and some of the funniest stories you'll hear.
I've got to hear that.
And so
I've got to be tuned in for that.
Right. And so you'll hear a different aspect of life, and that's what it should be. It's what it should be.
This is all, you know, like I said, I didn't grow up here. I'm not from here, but, you know, I've been around high schools where I lived, and I just have all these pictures and clothing styles and hairstyles going through my head from, like, you know, the 70s and the 80s and even the 60s.
So as we get closer and the school, Middleton will be empty, especially then, we'll do some reenactments. Mm-hmm. And so at Trident Technical College, I would teach a class where we'd actually shoot on 16mm film. Mm-hmm. And I realized, which is awesome, I learned a lot, able to teach the students. We make like films, 3 or 4 films in a class in a semester. And then, but everything you do with 16mm film looks old, looks like the 60s or 70s. And so I'm going to invite alumni to bring their kids, their grandkids.
Excellent.
And let's bring fashions from the day, try to do your hair from the day, and let's just shoot some on film for reenactments.
Tim, we are out of time. I could talk to you for another hour. Tim Fennell has been my guest. He's working on a documentary about Middleton and West Ashley High School, and St. Andrews is in there too, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And this documentary, hopefully we'll see it in what?
Yeah, maybe summer of 2027, Middleton goes down. Okay. So hopefully last piece of the puzzle, maybe fall, around Christmas of 2027 is my goal.
So mark that on your calendar, especially if you grew up here and you're familiar with these. Tim, thank you. We're going to have to, we'll have you back again. Give us a little progress report as to what you found. This has been a fun trip down memory lane. I didn't even go to these schools, but I did go to a school, so I've got all these pictures in my head.
Thanks, Sheree.
Tim Fennell, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching today's episode, and be on the lookout for additional episodes. If you'd like to be a guest or even a host in the Rocks and Razorbacks podcast, please let us know. We want the podcast to be the go-to place for cherished Middleton and St. Andrews memories. Don't forget, the Rocks and Razorbacks documentary geared for South Carolina ETV is in production, and we'd love your input and help with that as well. For now, go Rocks and, go Hogs. Well, you get it. Thanks.